What is up, everybody? I'm George Mossey. This is my co-host, Heather C. Seeking Sister Wife. We're on season 4. Episode 3 has aired. We're going to recap the episode with you guys. First things first, the Foleys, Brenda, Steve, and April were not on this episode. We will catch up with them next week. So let's dive into the Merrifields. So we're going to check in with Garrick and Danielle and Leah. So we watched them interact with Leah. And so I just want to jump right in and say right off the bat, why does it seem as though Garrick isn't interested in Leah the way that he was with Roberta? So the entire interaction that I saw was him on the phone crying, wishing that Roberta was there, talking about Roberta. And I feel like they're making this entire trip to LA about Roberta when they're supposed to be feeling out how things are going with Leah. So it brings me to this realization. Are they ready to add a new wife into this situation? And I think the answer is just no.
I think that she is added on to be a distraction, in my opinion. I think they want to expand their family, but I also low-key think that Garrick just wants Roberta, and I think that Leah might be a distraction so that way his original wife doesn't get in the way. Because if we remember from the prior season, she was in her feelings a lot. Like every time, I mean, as she should, because he said that he was going to wait before they had sex and they didn't. And she felt betrayed, which any wife would, but she chose to be in this interesting type of situation where the rules don't match for singular couples because they want to be plural. So there's not really any room for jealousy when you're trying to make your lifestyle that way. This is a choice. So I feel bad for Leah because I feel like she's just like on board and she wants to be in the relationship, but I kind of feel like she's a pawn. And I feel bad because like she's like, oh yeah, I think he likes me, but I'm not seeing chemistry.
Me neither.
I'm not. I don't even see chemistry for his original wife. I only see it for Roberta. Like he low-key likes her.
Well, and during dinner, we heard about some differences. Like Leah works 12-hour shifts. She's a nurse. And
Yeah.
Garrick is like, oh, I would want you to cut down your hours and I want you to be home more and be more present in the family. I feel like there's so many differences that are going to have such huge conflicts in this that I cut it now before anything else goes wrong, because I don't see how this is actually going to flourish into something successful. So now let's talk about the Joneses, right? So Sidian and Tasha are back. We originally saw them when they were living in Boise, Idaho last season. They are now living in Portland, Oregon. And they are actually in a new place because they wanted to start over because their child, who was previously identifying as Lily, is now identifying as Liam. And they said that they've had some issues and backlash of their relationship, of their plural relationship, and they didn't want any of that issues to go on to their children, and they wanted to be in a more accepting environment. So I'm happy that they found a new accepting environment for their family in Portland, Oregon. And I hope that the people in Utah have a more open mind about what's going on around them. We saw last season that they were not successful with adding a new wife, but this season they have a new person that they're trying to add. Her name is Ariel, and she's from the Philippines. And this is an interesting situation because Tasha has met her in person and spent some time with her, but Sidian has only met her through video calls, and they are going to have to plan a trip to the Philippines to meet her soon because they said after so long, they feel like if they don't get this going now, the spark might dry out. So what do you think about Sidian and Tasha and Ariel?
I think that 90 Day Fiance is going to be calling because this is, if it doesn't work out on this show, there's a backup plan for them. I think it's kind of cool that there is like previous relations between Ariel and Tasha and Ariel. I think that it's cool that, they work together, they were friends, they kind of build a relationship, because that's the whole point of Sister Wives, is that the females are supposed to have a sister type relationship, an extra mother around the house, a sister when you need it, et cetera, et cetera. So I like that they already have their bond built, because that's the toughest part. The guy's going to like a female and he's going to be like, I want you and you and you and you. But it's the females that are like, not today. So I like that they already established that bond. On the phone, they kind of like, she seemed interested in Sidian, but I don't know. Like, he's very quiet, very reserved. So I don't know if they're going to mesh well together or not. I guess, time will tell. But it would be an ideal situation. Like I said, at least the females already have a relationship.
Well, right. They
together. So
actually, Tasha is the one that introduced Sidian and the situation to Ariel, and then she's interested. So I feel like this could be a good situation, or with the distance, like you said, with the K-1 visa process and that type of stuff, that can be a whole hurdle in itself. That's a whole mountain of issues, even outside of the plural relationship issue. So we're going to have to watch and see how this flourishes into a relationship or not throughout the season. All right, so I want to jump over and talk about the Davises, right? So April, Nick, and Jennifer. So Nick and Danielle had their first solo date, which went really well. And keep in mind that they've been on several dates previously as a group. This was the first time that Danielle and Nick went out on a date together. It went well. Nick brought Danielle back home. They spent some quality time in the bedroom. And we actually learned that April and Jennifer climbed into bed with them and slept because they said that that's how they normally sleep all together, which I don't know, right? Is that strange, because they were intimate and then the two other wives climbed in bed and slept all together. It's just, I don't want to say it's strange because I don't know their lifestyle and I don't know what works for other people, but it would be strange for me, I guess.
Like, how did that even come about? Is it like, knock, knock, hi, it's just us. Are you decent? We're coming to bed. And then it's like, what order was it in? So it's like, and then what size bed do you have that you're fitting 4 people in there? Like, that's insane. Like, I have the most random, outlandish questions. This is their life and it works for them. And, to each his own. They have this relationship. It's working. They don't care that he's courting other women. They're actually like their number one cheerleader. They're like, yeah. It's Danielle. She is kind of like more of the one that's like, is it okay? I don't know. Like, it seems kind of odd. I don't want to step on anybody's toes. And they're like, no, girl, go ahead. So it's kind of cool seeing like the support, like they're ready to just move forward with this relationship and get things, together. Like they're ready for a new sister wife.
I think so far they're the most promising.
Yeah, I was gonna say that. I was gonna say
successfully adding.
Yeah, everybody's on board. Everybody's cool. Everybody respects and likes each other. So I think this one might be a winner.
Right. I do. I think that they're going to successfully add a sister wife, and it'll be almost the first time since we've watched the show. So speaking of success, let's go contrast and jump over to the Epps family with Marcus, Taryn, and India. So Marcus has flown Bina out to see them, and they had their first solo date, which Taryn and India helped plan, which it went really well, really, really well. And it led them to the conversation of, because she lives in North Carolina and they're living in Orlando. So they're going to have to move things along because in order for this to work, they want to move her in and they're going to become one big family. And India showed some resistance because she was like, well, this is moving so fast. You went on one date. Now you want to bring her back to the house and introduce her to the family and the children. And I feel like it's going too fast. And he also brought up, when is it okay to introduce sex into the courting process? And Taryn said, organically. And India said, I think not. I think that it should be the last step. And after one date, she doesn't feel like they're ready. And the problem with it is Taryn and Marcus have known Bina for a really long time, 10 years or so. And India's just going to meet her for the first time. So that trust that they have, she doesn't have. And she does remember what it was like when she moved in and she watched Taryn watch Marcus and India fall in love in the same household and how difficult that was. And now she's placing herself in this new situation where she's going to watch Marcus fall in love with Bina, and she doesn't know if she's going to be able to handle those emotions.
Okay, so out of all the couples, this one really kind of got to me a little bit. And it's no disrespect to any of the couples. Like I said, this is their life. This is just solely our opinion. But so here's my thing. So India is the newer sister wife.
Right.
He was originally with Taryn. So why is it that the one who started the relationship with him is completely comfortable and fine?
And, well, I think that the situation is when Taryn explained it, Taryn and Marcus were not physically together when he was courting India. They were living in the same house due to their children. But she said that the jealousy didn't really exist because they were not in a relationship together when he was dating India and moved India into the house. She said that she merely did it to keep her family together. And so she didn't really have a lot of animosity towards her because she wasn't interested in Marcus at that moment.
So she has this big, like, type of negative energy with him moving on with another sister wife. Taryn was like, you know what? Organic. I don't need to know. Do you? And then India was kind of like, speak for yourself. Like, that's not going to work for me. I need to know. And I was kind of taken back by that because I'm like, okay, even though, like you had just said, that Taryn and him were like originally together, but then they weren't when he met her, they somehow formed back together.
Yeah.
And they have kids together. So she's still like the first, even though they kind of had like a break, she still was the first one to be introduced to him in that relationship. So the fact that she doesn't have that like protectiveness where she's bothered by it and India does, I was just kind of like, wow. I'm like, her emotions were like high. She was just like, no, like she was really hurt and bothered by it. And I'm not saying like she wasn't like completely against it because like they both, you know, were planning the date and they did a really good job. The little picnic thing looked cute and everything. But I was just kind of just taken back because she was just so like in her emotions and her feelings like, no, I need to know. I need to know. Like, and I'm just like, wow. I'm like, you came into this relationship with the baggage.
Right.
And even if they weren't together, they were still co-parenting, they were still living together, whatever the situation was, there was baggage. And you could tell that he likes the ladies. So you knew that there was going to be this type of situation. And if it wasn't a plural, it would be a lot of cheating. So I don't know. I don't know if I would allow myself to get that passionate about the situation, knowing what entails. You kind of signed up for this and you knew what he wanted and you knew that he didn't want to just settle down with one specific person. So to get that upset, you're just hurting yourself because you know what's going to come about.
I see it as a red flag. I see it as India's not ready to extend the family. I mean, I think that she's come to grips with the way that the family is now. Taryn is there and she's come to grips with it, but she's not 100% fully okay with it. And I think adding a third wife is going to bring back that feeling of I'm not really okay with it, but I'm dealing with it. And I feel like that's going to be a huge hurdle for them to come through. All right, guys, that's it. That's what happened on Seeking Sister Wife, episode 3, season 4. Make sure you guys are live tweeting with us. This show is so amazing. It keeps my mind racing with thoughts and questions. And I love watching these different plural lifestyles and how they take place. I'm George Mossey. This is my co-host, Heather C. Thanks for joining us, and we'll talk to you all really soon.
Bye.